Hey there. I don't know if you can hear that spooky wind outside, but it's very telling because today we are going Halloween decor hunting. Bit of a different video today, going Halloween decor hunting, hoping to hit up a couple of TKMaxx locations, which here in Australia is where a lot of the nicer Halloween decor comes in at this time of year. It is currently the end of August, late August, and we typically don't get a lot of Halloween pieces, period, let alone things that are sort of less decoration-y and more like homewares, things that you can use all year round. And we actually use our spooky dishware all year round, so I'm excited to go. I'm going along with my mum today, hit up a couple of locations and see what's out there this year. Kind of a bit of a weird year in terms of importing and exporting things from America, so but it is really the only time of year and the only place where you can get some of those larger international brands. So yeah, let's go shopping. is day 2 of our little Halloween decor hunting weekend. I am flying solo today, taking the solo broom out for a spin, and we are going to the Coomera TKMaxx. And because we're going to Coomera, that means we can pop by the Starbucks for a little pumpkin spice indiscretion. So get in, witches, we're going Halloween decor hunting. Alright, we secured the goods. So this is the cold brew with the pumpkin spice sweet cream. I typically prefer the nitro cold brew, but they never have it here. So this is the first sip of the season. It's delicious, although I didn't get much pumpkin in that. I also got it without ice, because when they do the cold brew with ice, the whole cup is ice. So it's room temp, that's fine. Oh, and it was free because I had some credit on I was up to my, free one on the app. Top tip, make sure you get the app. You get a free one every so often. It's good value. All right, off to TKMaxx. I gotta cross the highway. Well, we are back from our trip. We ended up hitting up 3 stores. So if you're in the Gold Coast area, we went to Robina, Helensvale and Coomera TKMaxx locations, and everything was amazing this year. There was so much. It was definitely full code orange. And I know what you're thinking, where is the haul? Well, I was actually very restrained this year and I didn't pick up anything along the way. But I did want to share with you some of my favorite things that I saw from this little adventure. So the first thing that I really loved was the Cynthia Rowley, it was a tablecloth, and I ended up seeing an apron today in the same design. It sort of had like some moths and some death head moths, and butterflies, and it was sort of like a floral design, very vintage and kind of gothic, but also kind of cottagecore as well. Like just very, I think it would serve really well as an all year round piece. So that was a really pretty one to see. I think it's new. I definitely haven't seen that there before. My next favorite thing, and it was sort of a collection, I guess you could say, were the little, and again, they were quite cottagecore, and I think a little bit on the spooky side, but I think they sort of leaned into more of the cottagecore, goblin core sort of style. They were the little tiny teacups and saucer spoon set. There were 3, did we end up seeing 3 or 4 designs? I can't remember, but I'll pop up a little graphic here of all the ones that we saw. The first one was the black cat, and its little tail was the handle, and it had, I think, a pumpkin plate with the little bat spoon. They were so precious. The other designs were in this set were also, or in this style I should say, were also really cute. There was a pumpkin cup where the cat was sort of like poking out from the top of the cup, and then its tail became the handle of the teacup. And I think it had a little ghosty spoon. And then there was one where the little creature that was popping up behind was the ghost on a different pumpkin mug, and I can't remember what created the handle. It might have been a stem, like a pumpkin stem. They were beautiful, and I've never seen those here before. They had a very vintage feeling, and again would serve all year round. Particularly the black cat ones would serve really well as all year round pieces. My next favorite thing was a new, well, I think it's new. It's new to me. I haven't seen it there before in previous years. A new design put out by Potter's Studio. I have a couple of Potter's Studio pieces, the little trio of witches design on a couple of pieces in my collection. But this year, what really stole my heart was this new, very delicate, soft Halloween design. It sort of had like a spooky house and a witch and like a spooky tree and a moon and little ghosties and bats and all the classic Halloween iconography mixed into this really soft, almost hand-drawn illustration looking image. And I saw it firstly on some little side plates, sized plates, and then some larger plates as well, along with quite a large mug and a teapot, a serving platter. So you definitely could create a whole set by sort of bowerbirding all the different pieces from the different locations that I saw. So the last thing on my favorites list from this year wasn't actually a part of the Halloween collection. It was those large mushrooms that I saw at the location today. So the last stop on the trip, which were they were like these large glass mushrooms, and I think they might have had like twinkle lights wired into them, but they had them in 3 different sizes, and my mushroom loving heart was just like, they were in this beautiful neutral goldy kind of color, and I feel like they would work really well in any home. They were really, really, really pretty. That was my favorite things that I saw this year. My final thoughts: I had wanted to hopefully in the wild see some Joanna Parker this year. Is it Johanna or Johanna? I think it's Johanna, right? Johanna Parker pieces. We don't really get very many of them in Australia, certainly not like in the wild. I did manage to see some tea towels and some mugs that were kind of like a straight sized shaped mug, and the mugs were quite large, and they did have some designs on them. But what I was really hoping to see were some of the actual character shaped pieces. And it wasn't to be this year. Likewise, some of the sets that I have in my personal spooky flatware collections, I'll just show you quickly what I'm talking about. These are typically the pieces that I look for when I go, and so this is the Royal Wessex that puts these out. They're sort of like a reproduction of some vintage adapted from original copper engraving. So each year typically I'm able to see just a couple of either one new design, or if I'm lucky, 2 different designs in this range, and I normally grab just like 1 or 2 of each to add to my set, but they did not have anything like that this year. Likewise, this is the other set I typically look for during Halloween Code Orange season at TKMaxx. This is the Royal Stafford line, and they typically bring out 1 new-ish design in this range as well. And typically they're sort of like witchy, or they'll have some sort of other vintage spooky illustration featured in the middle there. And they did not have any of those this year either. As I said in the intro, we do use our spooky dishware all year round. So while I really would have loved to have picked up some of those new Potter's Studio pieces with that beautiful intricate design, and a couple of those little mugs, I just didn't need them, and I sort of felt like I know myself well enough to know that once I popped, I would not be able to stop. If you know, you know. That I would have ended up trying to create a whole new set, and we just don't need on a typical day-to-day basis. We just don't need that many for the 2 of us to eat off of. So I also don't like saving things for certain occasions. I like to just use what I have. So Yes, I was very, very restrained. I'm quite proud of myself actually for how restrained I was. There were some beautiful pieces this year though. So if you have a TKMaxx near you and you're in Australia and you're trying to find some cute spooky items for the season or just to use all year round like us, I definitely recommend going and spending a couple of hours wandering around to hopefully there are some locations near you can have a look. So yeah, that's kind of going to wrap up the video. I hope you've enjoyed coming along for this little stroll around. I know some of the shots were a little bit chaotic, but I have to tell you, not only do all the spooky kids come out during Code Orange at TKMaxx, but also just a lot of general curious folk come out and have a good look. So it was pretty chaotic and very busy, which warms my heart because hopefully that means that everything will sell out and they'll keep getting things in each year because we love it too. We want it here in Australia as well, and it's so hard to find like really cute things like that all year round. So if you have enjoyed this video, let me know down in the comments what was your favorite thing that you saw during these clips, and certainly ask me any questions and I will do my best to answer them as well as I can, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.